Call this council meeting to order at 6 p.m. Need a motion for adoption of the minutes.
Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held at City Hall on Monday, March 27th, 2017 be adopted as circulated.
Moved by Councillor Espy and seconded by Councillor Draycott. All those in favor? And that's carried. We have no delegations this evening. We do have a number of hearings. We'll open the hearing for bylaw 17-8656 for Josh Black. Is there anyone here to speak to the hearing?
Yes.
And you're
my name is Josh
Mr. Black? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak to the hearing? Okay. Would you like to come up and use the podium?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. My name is Josh Black. I've moved to Portage about 5 years ago. My plan has always been to, part of my retirement plan, to have an income suite in my house. It's the reason why I purchased this house 5 years ago, because it's perfect for that scenario. And I am here to thank you for your consideration, and if you have any questions or concerns, or if anybody else has any questions or concerns.
Okay, did council have any questions for Mr. Black? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I need a motion to close the hearing.
Resolved that the public hearing for rezoning bylaw 17-8656 Josh Black, PC 1-17 now be closed.
Moved by Councillor Dreger and seconded by Councillor Fraze. All those in favor? And that's carried.
As we heard, the rezoning has been applied for an R1 residential single family to move to an R2 residential two family to allow for the construction of the second suite at the residence. And the application has been circulated to various city departments with no concerns. The application has also been advertised in the Daily Graphic for 2 consecutive weeks. Circulated to the province, and public notices have been sent to all owners of property within a 100-meter radius of the proposed development as per Section 168 of the Planning Act. First reading of this bylaw was given on February 13, 2017 to commence the process as defined in the Planning Act in considering this application, and as of this writing we have not received written objections to the proposed rezoning scheme. Therefore, it is my recommendation that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie approve the application to rezone the land known as 69 12th Street Northwest and legally described as lots 176, 77, Plan 13, Parish of Portage la Prairie from R1 residential single family to R2 residential two family, and that bylaw number 17-8656 be read a second time.
Moved by Councillor Dreger and seconded by Councillor Fraze. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried.
And that bylaw number 17-8656 be read a third time, finally passed, signed, and sealed. I so move.
Moved by Councillor Dreger and seconded by Councillor Fraze. All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried. We'll open the rezoning hearing for bylaw 17-8657. This is CHB Developments. Is there anyone here to speak to the hearing?
Sorry. Thank you very much. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay, nobody here to speak for CHB? Need a motion to close the hearing?
Resolved that the public hearing for rezoning bylaw 17-8657 CHB Developments PC 5-17 now be closed.
Moved by Councillor Dreger and seconded by Councillor Fraze. All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried.
This request has been made to rezone the property from R1 residential single family to R2 residential 2 family. And the background here is the property, the applicant wishes to rezone the property as was previously stated, and this application also has been circulated to various city departments with no concerns and has been advertised in the Daily Graphic and also circulated to the province. First reading of this bylaw was given on February 13, 2017 to commence the process, and as of this writing, we have not received written objections to the proposed rezoning scheme. It is the recommendation of this committee that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie approve the application to rezone the land known as 426 Tupper Street North, legally described as lots 653, 654, Plan 66, Parish of Portage la Prairie, from R1 residential family to R2 residential 2 family zone, and that bylaw number 17-8657 be read a second time, and I so move.
Moved by Councillor Dreger and seconded by Councillor Fraze. Any questions or comments on the motion? Councillor Draycott?
Just clarification, this is currently just a lot, not a house, correct?
That is correct.
Any other questions on the motion? All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried.
And that bylaw number 17-8657 be read a third time, finally passed, signed, and sealed. And I so move.
Moved by Councillor Dreger and seconded by Councillor Fraze. All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried. I move into Finance, Legislative and Property Committee tonight for Councillor Buds. Councillor Wall, please.
Yes, Your Worship. The city received a request from the Portage Animal Welfare Society Incorporated, known as PAWS, dated March 14, 2017, to be exempt from their property tax obligations. The city currently has no incidence of waiving property taxes for a rescue organization or for a nonprofit organization. Church properties are assessed similar to schools and do not pay property taxes, excluding those for special levies. We currently have a tax discount in place for a multifamily low-cost housing unit on 18th, 19th, and 20th Streets. But the city's property tax clerk checked with our local assessment branch to see if other nonprofit city properties were being given tax waivers or discounts to confirm that there are none. We were also advised that the City of Winnipeg had recently built a new rescue organization facility, believing their property would be granted a property tax waiver, and was not. There's no provision in the province of Manitoba's property assessment process to provide waivers for rescue organization facilities. That doesn't preclude individual municipalities from agreeing to provide their own concessions at their revenue opportunity loss. There are a number of nonprofit organizations that own and pay property taxes within the City of Portage la Prairie, and to agree to waive one nonprofit's tax obligations and not to then waive others is not a recommended practice. So the recommendation is, and I so move, that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie deny the request from PAWS for a property tax exemption.
Moved by Councillor Wall and seconded by Councillor Dreger. Any questions or comments on the motion?
Just a comment, if I might, that this does not suggest that PAWS wouldn't be able to ask for and possibly receive some other support for their organization. They would be free to apply for a grant or funding from multiple sources.
That's my understanding, yes. Any other questions? All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried. And that concludes Finance, Councillor Wall.
Yes, Your Worship.
Thank you. City Planning, Economic Development, Councillor Dreger, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. The only item on the agenda for this evening in our committee is the building reports for February of 2017, and we discussed those previously in committee, and I'll just present them to council for your perusal. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Councillor Dreger. Community Services, Councillor Fraze, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Community Services Committee has nothing on the agenda tonight.
Thank you. Waterworks Committee, Councillor Wall.
Yes, Your Worship, I have for information only the annual report of the Water Pollution Control Facility. The facility performed very well throughout 2016. Total flow of over 6 billion liters was processed through the secondary system, and 98% of the time met all requirements of its environment license. So very good job done at our wastewater treatment plant, and I recommend you read this report in your leisure time.
Thank you, Councillor Wall. Transportation Committee, Councillor Draycott, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Nothing for Transportation Committee this evening.
Thank you. Public Safety Committee, Councillor Espy, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just the 2016 request for service database report for information only, and it was discussed in the last committee meeting. And barring any questions, that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Espy. We have no deferred business this evening, and we have no new business, no old business. So we are adjourned at 6:11 p.m., and we'll move right into committee. We'll call committee to order at 6:12 p.m. Finance, Legislative, Property Committees. Councillor Wall, please.
Yes, Your Worship. We'll be bringing forward revision of procurement and disposal of material policy and a merger of that policy with the procurement by tender or RFP. This revision and merger of policies would create some efficiencies and just make our bring our purchasing policies up to date. And that's all I have to say on that at the moment.
Okay, thank you. City Planning and Economic Development, Councillor Dreger, please.
Well, we have one item on the agenda this evening that I had open here, but now I'm having a difficulty. I was going to ask if Mr. May would like to speak to this. This report comes from Fred, and he probably has a lot of information that I don't have firsthand, and if you don't mind.
Certainly. So we've just received an inquiry by email. We have come to understand that there will be a national television series similar to The Amazing Race that people may be familiar with, coming through Portage. This is a TV series in partnership with Via Rail, which pairs an adult with a youth on a Trans-Canada journey. And surprisingly, of all of the Prairie provinces, there's only one stop, and it's going to be in Portage la Prairie. So they have given us some information on the series and have requested some sponsorship support, which in turn, based on the request, is going to be reinvested locally through accommodations at local hotels and also rental of vehicles to transport their crew and cast while they're here. So they've requested, there's a couple of different opportunities for support that they've requested, so we're submitting those for consideration of council.
How many crew will be here? Did they give you any indication?
What they've identified is they will have 10 teams of 2 that are participants in this game show kind of scenario, as well as crew. They haven't identified a number yet. I've also issued a request to find out the nature of the activities they're going to be doing while they're here for the 4 days, to see if there's an opportunity for us to steer some of that as well, to showcase what we want to showcase. So I'm still waiting to hear back.
I had just one question. So the television coverage for this is on French-only television, or is it English too?
Presently, they're proposing that it will air on a French network, which is Unis TV, and I'm not aware if that's available to us here locally through satellite or otherwise.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? And there is a recommendation here that we will be voting on at our next council meeting. So I just invite council to familiarize yourself with this issue and come back prepared to vote on it. And that concludes what I have in committee this evening.
Thank you, Councillor Dreger. Community Services Committee, Councillor Fraze, please.
Thank you, Worship. Community Services Committee doesn't have any committee items tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Wall, Waterworks.
Yes, Your Worship. Next council meeting, we'll be bringing forward the tender for supply of lime at the water treatment plant. You may recall we decided not to award the tender last time and reissued it. We've received one bid from Greymont Western Canada Limited at $643,000, which is considerably less than the price we had last time. I believe it's over $100,000 less. And so we'll be recommending award of that at the next meeting. Also coming up are the public water system and water treatment plant reports that are required by Office of Drinking Water and the Sustainable Development Departments on an annual basis, and those reports are here for your perusal. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Councillor Wall. Transportation Committee, Councillor Draycott, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Next meeting, we'll be discussing 18th Street Northwest, some proposed street lighting. As you know, we've got in our 2017 pavement program, it includes the asphalting of 18th Street Northwest from the CPR tracks to Park Drive. And so this will be in reference to adding 3 street lights along that road. Manitoba Hydro has provided us with an estimate of $17,000 to supply and install those 3 streetlights, and they are budgeted in this year's budget as well. So that will be voted on next meeting.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Draycott. Public Safety Committee, Councillor Espy.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Public Safety Committee has nothing to report.
Thank you. Just before we move into question period and then adjournment, I just wanted to congratulate Councillor Espy, who was recognized with a Lifetime Contributor to the sport of arm wrestling. He was bestowed the Danny Attenberg Award on April the 1st. And this award is given to an individual each year who is determined by the Manitoba Arm Wrestling Association as a lifelong contributor to the sport in Manitoba. So congratulations, Councillor Espy.
Thank you.
Now we're going to move into question period, and just for people that haven't been here, this is a chance for anybody in the gallery to come up and ask council an information-seeking question, and we'll open up the floor to questions. Last call for questions. Well, hearing none, committee is adjourned at 6:19 p.m. Numbers keep getting smaller and smaller.